that is number one, but how can I put this? To fulfill the objective of the NYSC. Now, when we send people from, after they've been graduates into the NYSC, the purpose is for them to go and gain knowledge. Now, if I'm the head of the NYSC, for example, if you study agriculture, I'll send you to the firms and the industry who are actually related to what you studied to go gain experience. If you study chemistry, I'll send you to pharmacists, pharmaceutical companies.
To NAFDAC?
NAFDAC, to go and gain experience. If you study accountancy, I'll actually expect you to go and work with Deloitte and all the accountancy firms and so on and so forth. That is how it should be. So by the time they go through the one-year program, they already have something in here that they can actually use when they go looking for employment. Now, if I'm an employer and you come to me with your CV and say, I've actually worked here for 1 year during my NYSC, of course, you've been baked to an extent that I know, okay, my input to you will be minimal. But here, they just put a bunch in here, just throw them everywhere to go satisfy the quota that they've gone to serve. That is not, so it should be scrapped, or if they need to save the NYSC, the honest truth is, the government has to look into it and revamp, overhaul the whole structure. I see the reason why we have a military to actually guide, to rule, to actually drive that NYSC program. So what they should do is bring businessmen and women to actually be at the helm of that structure. Then it will work. Then it will save the NYSC. Now, coming back to the apprenticeship scheme, now it goes interwoven with the structure they have in the NYSC. If the NYSC is really working, then we should be talking about the apprenticeship scheme in a proper form at the moment, whereby your people have to go into employers 3 months, 6 months to do apprenticeship scheme. Now, the government is paying something to graduates now, which is called, what's it called?
It's called Alawi in local parlance.
5,000 naira. Now, I've questioned this quite a few times on this platform. There's nothing wrong in paying people some stipend to do anything, but what is the purpose of it? What is the end result of it? If you want to pay, why don't you structure a program, okay? You go and find an employer you're going to work with, okay? Now, when you work as an employer, 6 months, 1 year, whatever, that's apprenticeship scheme, to go learn, okay? We will pay you that money, or pay the employer to pay them, or pay them directly, so they know the purpose of what. Why do you just give money for what purpose? I don't understand that. Then also, the government, they have a scheme whereby they give loans to people. Now, I've said this severally. Some people have no business in doing business. If you want to give me a loan to go do business, how can you qualify me that I'm certainly qualified to use this money judiciously to run a business and be successful?
We've done a number of things as far as the employment is concerned. We've done the National Directorate of Employment. We've done a number over the years, I mean several years, in which we're trying to grab this unemployment at a very basic level. But it looks like each time we try to handle it, it pops up somewhere else, and we keep looking for it. Do you think there's any new thinking that could be brought here? Do we just need to spend more money? What else do you think we can do to actually generate employment, not only on the side of the formal economy, but on the side of the informal economy? Because if you break down these numbers, you find out that both from the unemployed and the underemployment, the informal economy, which is about 80–85%, is where we are bleeding seriously.
Yeah. We have to look into training, skill development, okay? Now, it is not, I think it was in the morning or something, during the Sunrise Daily, we were talking about university, polytechnic, and whereby a country like Nigeria is actually laying more emphasis. Most employers believe when you graduate from university, you are better off than people that went to polytechnic. That is not the purpose. Polytechnic are more technical inclined than the universities, okay? They have different structures. In the UK, for example, if you do nursing and you go through the diploma courses nursing, you are virtually or actually physically working directly in hospitals with patients and everything, and they pay you a salary. Okay? Now, if you go to do BSc in nursing, you don't get those intensive because you're more in classes and all those sort of things. But at the end of the day, the individual qualification will achieve its purpose. But here, we don't look at it that way. We think universities have more than the polytechnic and so on. But there are different structures. You have universities, you have polytechnic, you have quality of education, and so on and so forth. But what is our Ministry of Education doing about all this? Because we are lacking a lot of skills that we need for the economy that is not here. Now, the informal sector that you just mentioned about, I mean, let's go back down to the artisans. We used to have this system of education in Nigeria, the technical education in Nigeria. Where are they gone now? Where they could do plumbing, they could do tiling, they could do electricians and all the sort of, and those are the base of the economy.
Do you think we should slow down a little bit on licensing new universities and license more vocational schools?
That is the answer. Because...
No, I just asked a question.
Yeah, they should. The government should. Because every now and here, there and there, every university is springing up everywhere. Now, what is the quality of these graduates that all these universities are trained to the economy?
So should we make that a policy, a state policy, rather than just, well, if it happens, if anybody step forward and say, well, I want to set up vocational schools, yeah, we're just going to sign off on it. But rather says, look, we think to get unemployment and education right on track, change this mentality, change this sentiment. We should make it a policy to say, look, we're looking at X, Y number of vocational schools and apprenticeship scheme as a national policy.
Yeah, of course. I mean, look at the government policy that we have now in agriculture. They're pumping a lot of funds and focusing on agriculture, and it's working. Now, let's talk about JAMB, for example. If, for example, I don't know how it works. If they say the cutoff point is going to be 200 to get to university, the government can say, okay, if you study agriculture, the cutoff point will be 120. So they bring it down. That is an encouragement to put more people into that sector. Youth, absolutely. Now, talking about universities as well, the vocational education, why don't you, instead of just approving every building, every organization say, I want to set up a university, why don't you look what the economy is like? And if your vocational education or industry is all about to target what is lacking in the economy, then they should approve it, not just having universities everywhere.
Not just in terms of numbers, but in terms of how effective they are. Okay, let's come back to you after the break. We're having our GDP, second quarter GDP numbers tomorrow. Let's ask you a few questions about what unemployment or underemployment has to do with the GDP numbers. Michael Adeleye, we're coming back after the break.